people who had opposite political beliefs. Now we can't even date them if they have no opinion at all. It's enough to make you lose faith in finding true love on a reality streaming series. And if you jilt a guy, Black Lives Matter, just tell me this. What have you actually done that made any more of a difference in any black life than what your inadequate ex-fiancé did? I asked Senator Adam Schiff here last week when the subject of Trump's sliding poll numbers came up. Okay, but how are the Democrats going to blow it this time? This is how. Posturing, purity tests, the politics of I unfriend you if you're not exactly with me 1,000%. Barack Obama used to preach that the perfect is the enemy of the good. Yeah, it's also the enemy of getting laid.
By now, you would think the Democrats would have realized it. After all, Bill Maher gave them enough verbal abuse to fill a highlight reel. They still hold on to their greatest hits, however. You know, the same cunning strategies that resulted in one of the most embarrassing political faceplants in modern history. Yes, Bill Maher is also not slowing down. He did nothing except drag the DNC through the mud once again. This time, their hypocrisy is on par with winning a gold medal. And it was pure fire, much to the surprise of everybody. Click the subscribe button if you haven't already, and then let's get started. A brief overview of the video you are about to see is provided below. A bride on a dating reality show left her husband entirely at the altar. Why? Because his wokeness was insufficient. You heard right. Pay attention to it.
Here's what happened. The bride, an impressive, attractive nurse named Sarah Carton, walked out on her dream wedding to sales consultant Ben Mazengo. They were at the altar, all dressed up, almost to the part where they eat cake and do the electric slide. When Sarah broke the news to her man that she just couldn't go through with it, had he cheated on her? Abused her? Was he a folk-singing Irish vampire? No, it was because of Black Lives Matter. Because if there's one thing we know about the young liberal women of today, it's that they are very, very high in their standards about everything. And Ben, while no racist, had not done the work on this issue.
No, this isn't a fairy tale or satire. And no, you're not using your hearing to trick yourself. This really happened on the reality show Love is Blind. In all honesty, there are times when you have to pause and think about how our society came to be in its current state. A woman left her marriage to a guy who was totally decent. It wasn't because he said anything offensive or because he was a private criminal because he didn't have a polished TED Talk on Black Lives Matter. Put love languages out of your mind. These days, political statements are essential. Indeed, these are the times we live in. I guess you should swipe to the left if your significant other doesn't post enough hashtags. In any case, Bill Maher, who never passes up a good bit of absurdity, provided his usual candid, unfiltered assessment of the whole matter. It was funny, as you could expect.
Sarah realized she'd rather die alone. Because love isn't blind, it's woke. Well, now, to be fair to Sarah, it wasn't just Black Lives Matter. Ben also didn't have much to say about the vaccine. And his position on trans was basically, I don't know, I guess. Sarah's sister is gay. And when she told that to Ben, Ben said he had, quote, no discomfort around that community at all. Not good enough, Ben! I think what you meant to say is, fuck yeah, I fucking love it.
The importance of character, financial stability, and, heaven forbid, establishing a stable society has diminished. Nope, everything is outdated. The new gold standard for love and marriage is the most sophisticated of all. Ignore true compassion, loyalty, or compatibility. It was 10 years ago. Nowadays, how much jargon you can use in a conversation is the most crucial factor. And whether or not you've memorized your performative allyship checklist, it's almost as if utilizing common sense has become criminal. If you don't adhere to the latest progressive group mindset, you're not worthy of love. It seems that the left's ever-evolving views on marriage and relationships have progressed from idealistic to utterly absurd. At this rate, we're not even dating real people anymore. We are attempting to participate in someone's ideological aspirations. Warning, If you blink too slowly during a social justice conversation, you will be disregarded.
If the standards on the left are going to be this high and politics is going to be this much of a cock block, we're never going to win elections or have any more babies. This inclination from certain liberals to always and immediately excommunicate instead of communicate is what makes them so unlikable. And I'm sorry, Sarah, to make you the poster child for this, but come on. I mean, look at this stiff. What'd you expect?
Additionally, Bill speaks without holding back. He lays the burden squarely on the shoulders of the DNC, like an Amazon present that no one wants to claim. They lit the match that started this whole woke wildfire, he said. Remember the period leading up to the election when some women publicly displayed their disapproval of Trump by wearing armbands? Indeed, they were expressing more than just their political opinions. They were developing a dating policy. Republicans are not allowed. It seems that love was a requirement on your ballot. The Democrats didn't just accept this. They took care of it. They said that anybody who risked voting for Trump must be following in his footsteps after characterizing him as a fascist. In this hyper-polarized environment, dating outside of one's party is thus now seen as high treason. And what do you know? That radical narrative failed to unify the country. It was shoved aside. It played a part in one of their worst political defeats in November. But have they regrouped, reconsidered, or given any of it any thought? Of course not. They have increased their efforts since nothing indicates effective strategy like repeating the same error and expecting accolades.
Okay, you're a much better person than he is. You win. And by win, I mean lose. Christ, first we couldn't date people who had opposite political beliefs. Now we can't even date them and they have no opinion at all? It's enough to make you lose faith in finding true love on a reality streaming series. Because if you're going to eliminate every 20-something who hasn't thought a lot about politics, you're going to be working from a smaller pool than roadies with no leg tattoos.
And sad.
Regretfully, things are just getting worse. It's no longer the sole choice to avoid dating someone on the other end of the political spectrum. These days, even being politically neutral may make or break a deal. Indeed, precisely. If you do not have a pre-approved activist-level stance on every social issue that is now popular, you are seen as contributing to the problem. Silence is no longer an option. At the absolute least, it's grounds for cancellation or a rude first date departure. This over-politicization of interpersonal connections is detrimental in addition to being socially taxing. It's producing a society where echo chambers are becoming romantic requirements and genuine human connection is being supplanted by ideological purity tests. And the ultimate repercussions. Both dating apps and democracy suffer as a result. When people are unable to even share a dinner table, how can we expect them to solve real problems? In slow motion, the DNC's advocacy of extreme tribalism under the pretense of progress is a PR disaster. Like their opponents, they are alienating the apolitical middle. When you lose the middle, you lose the country.
Because if you're going to eliminate every 20-something who hasn't thought a lot about politics, you're going to be working from a smaller pool than roadies with no leg tattoos. And let's be clear, Ben didn't say, you know, I have thought about Black Lives Matter and I'm with Derek Chauvin. No. He said, I'm young, dumb, and full of fantasy football stats. Could we just talk about it? I'm sorry, I'm not at the part of my life yet where I give a shit about the issues. Should he? Of course. We all should do a lot of things. I should meditate and finish Moby Dick and learn to get to sleep without a gummy.
Of course, it's great to have opinions. After all, who doesn't like a good debate over coffee or the odd heated outburst on Twitter? But the Democrats seem to forget this all the time. A lot of Americans just don't care about politics all the time. Winning ideological battles is not their aim. They're trying to raise their kids, pay their bills, go to a game on Sunday, and enjoy some calm in what is supposed to be the finest country in the world. They haven't memorized the activist talking points for the week, so they're not looking for incessant lectures or censure. For them, politics is not a way of life. It's background noise. Therefore, when the left concentrates on imposing its beliefs on everyone, it does not arouse admiration. It makes people hostile. People's shame prevents them from wanting to become activists. They want a stable economy, decent jobs, safe neighborhoods, and the freedom to live without constant moral oversight. If the DNC keeps ignoring it, they're doing more than just alienating voters. They're pushing them straight into the arms of the enemy.
Maybe Ben hasn't turned his life over to being a social justice warrior yet because he's preoccupied with trying to get his life going. Possibly because he's worried about having the means to support the woman he thought he was going to marry, who seems rather demanding and particular. Which is kind of how it is these days. Did you know that on Bumble, only 15% of the women are willing to date a man under 5'8"? Wow. Women, they're like roller coasters now. You must be this tall to ride them.
But you know that all of this absurdity began with the long-standing hostility against Donald Trump. The media's unrelenting attacks on him went beyond just criticizing his ideas. In essence, he was changed into a cartoon villain, a supervillain with orange skin intended to wipe out humanity. For more than a decade, Trump has been portrayed by left-leaning media as the height of evil, a threat to democracy, morals, and perhaps brunch. And what do you know? It worked. Partially anyhow. Instead of seeing Trump as a past president or political competitor, over half of the country has been conditioned to view him as a living, breathing disaster. Not only the DNC opposed him, they used that rage as a tool to rally their fans, raise funds, and humiliate anybody who attempted to refute the story. It wasn't always like this. Do you remember the presidency of George W. Bush? Voting for him was not seen as a moral violation, despite his critics. Political disputes were just that, disagreements. But under Trump, it became politicized, personal, and downright toxic. So what changed? The answer is simple. The left found that people were loyal out of fear and rage. But in the process, they could have broken political discourse, which they are now struggling to put back together. At first glance, one could think Maher was only teasing the bride. You know, the woman who abandoned her fiancé at the altar because he wasn't progressive enough. In all honesty, he probably was. However, if you look more closely, you'll see that he's also making really negative statements about Democrats in general. For many years, the Democratic Party has positioned itself as the moral compass of America. Perched on a hill of advancing justice was the shining city. They consider themselves to be more than just a party. They are the country's last hope. The heroes, the saviors, the chosen ones. And if you're not on their side, I apologize, buddy. You must be ignorant, backward, or some lost soul clinging to a bygone era. Since their dominance attitude has grown so embedded in their identity, making concessions seems like betraying them. Some people see disagreement as heresy. Millions of Americans who just want normalcy, not preaching, cannot be heard because of the echo chamber they have built. It is ironic that Maher, one of their own, is now berating them for it. Because if you start treating half of the country like second-class citizens, you shouldn't be surprised when the votes start to go against you. Bill Maher in the end, and as expected, blames the Democrats for everything. He's extremely clear about his message. The Democratic National Committee may benefit much from stepping down from their moral high horse and engaging with ordinary Americans. You know, the folks who are more concerned about purchasing food, paying their rent, and supporting their families than they are with attending the next ideological conference. Instead of preaching from a position of power, they should try listening carefully to the struggles that working-class people face on a daily basis. Instead of addressing them, write a message that speaks to them. Because until the Democrats stop alienating the people they claim to represent, they will keep losing elections. Moral posturing, even if it receives acclaim on Twitter, does not impress a truck driver in Ohio or a single mother juggling 2 jobs in Arizona. If the DNC wants to stay relevant, they need to be more sincere, less arrogant, and given a hard reality check by Bill Maher. That puts an end to our conversation for today. Please click the like button and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any of our smoldering films. Thank you for seeing, and I'll see you in the